Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Janelle and today I'm going to be walking you through how to crochet a daisy keychain. So for supplies you're going to need 3 different colors of yarn. So for mine I'm using white, yellow, and green, and this is all worsted weight. And then I'm going to be using a 4mm crochet hook. And you're also going to need some type of yarn needle, a pair of scissors, some kind of keychain hardware, and then a small amount of fiber fill, but you could also use scraps of yarn instead. So I'm going to be starting with the center of the daisy. So for that I'm using my yellow yarn. And I'm going to start out by doing 6 single crochet in a magic circle. And then for round 2, I'm going to increase. So that's 2 single crochet in each stitch from our first round. And then for round 3, we're just going to single crochet. So we are at 12 stitches now, so we're just going to do 12 stitches for this round. So that's basically it for the center of our daisy. So I'm going to trim off my yarn, just leaving it a tail so that we can later sew it on to the rest of our daisy. And then I'll just finish this off by doing a slip stitch into the next stitch. So for now we'll just set that aside. So we're going to move on to the petals of the daisy, and for that I'm switching to my white yarn. So you can actually do this in any color that you like. If you wanted to make a bunch of them for friends and do them all in different colors, you could absolutely do that, but I'm just going to stick with traditional daisy color. So this we're going to start the same way as the center of the daisy. So it's going to be 6 single crochet in a magic circle. And then from here, I'm just going to slip stitch into the first single crochet. And then we're going to build all of our petals off of this. So to start out the petals, I'm going to chain 4. And then I'm going to do a single crochet in the second chain from my hook. And then 2 more single crochet to finish off the rest of our chains. And then I'm just going to repeat that all the way around so that we have 6 petals. So again, I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 4, and then single crochet 3. And then just repeat that 4 more times till you have 6 petals. And then I'll just finish off the round by slip stitching into the first stitch. So at this point, you'll notice that our petals are all curling quite a bit. So we're going to do a final round around each of the petals with a slip stitch just to straighten everything out and to elongate the petals a little bit. So I'm gonna do 3 slip stitches up the first side of the first petal. And then when you get to the top of the petal, chain 3. And then we'll do 3 slip stitches down the other side of the petal. And then we'll also slip stitch into the space between the petals. So again, we'll repeat that around. So it's 3 slip stitch up the first side. And then chain 3, and then 3 slip stitch down the second side. Slip stitch between the petals, and then just repeat until you've got a slip stitch around each of the petals. So then when you get to the end of your last petal, you can just trim off your yarn and fasten it off. And then I would suggest just kind of pulling out each of the petals a little bit just to get everything straightened out. So right now this looks more like a snowflake than a daisy, but you're going to need to make 2 of these pieces. So I'm going to do the second one off camera just so you don't have to watch me do the same thing twice. And then I will come back and show you the next part. So now that I have my 2 petals done, I'm going to switch to my green yarn and I'm going to make a little leaf. So to do that, I'm going to start by chaining 8. And then in the second chain from my hook, I'm going to do a single crochet. And then I'm going to work my way down to my first chain. So from here, I'm going to do 2 half double crochet. And then 3 double crochet. So at this point I've got 1 remaining chain, and in this 1 chain I'm going to do 2 half double crochet, and then I'm going to chain 2, and do a slip stitch into the second chain from my hook. And then again, back into this first chain that we did, I'm going to do another 2 half double crochet. And then now I'm going to work my way back down the other side of our chain. So we're working backwards from what we did before. So we're going to do 3 double crochet. And then 2 half double crochet. And 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch into the single crochet on the other side. So that is how our leaf is looking right now. And then this is the part that's actually going to connect to the keychain. So I'm going to do a loop at the top. So I'm going to chain 10. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch just right back through the middle of the leaf here. And then I'm going to trim off my yarn, but I'm going to leave a bit of a tail because we're going to use this to sew our petals together. Just bind that off. Again, you can just stretch it out a little bit to shape your leaf. So now all that's really left to do is to put everything together and weave in our ends. So I've gone ahead and woven in all of my ends except for the long tail that I left on the centerpiece as well as the leaf piece. So right now I'm going to take my centerpiece and one of the petal pieces, and I'm just going to thread this on to my needle, and then I'm going to start stitching it around the center of my petal. Once you're about halfway around, you can take your stuffing and just put it inside the center bit. And then just continue stitching all the way around. And then you can just tie that off and hide the end of your yarn. You can just go through to the back of your petals because this is going to be hidden anyways. So then we will layer the rest of the pieces together. So you're going to want to layer your top petals on top of your bottom petals, but make sure that they are offset so that you can see the back petals through the spaces of the front ones. And then the leaf is going to be layered at the back. And make sure that the bottom of your loop is centered with the center of your petals. And then just to give you a preview, that's what that is going to look like. So now we just need to thread our yarn onto our needle and go through all three pieces. So you can kind of do this one by one. So just make sure that all of your pieces are right sides up when you layer them. Don't go through the very center, but go kind of just off to the side of the center, through the back petals, and then again making sure that your petals are offset. You're going to want to go through the back here, and you can go right underneath the first round that we did, the magic circle, through to the other side. And then we're going to take the opposite side of our back petals and go through there. And then before you tie anything together, just make sure that everything is lined up correctly. When you pull that tight, so you can see the petals are all offset. And then we'll just go back through our leaf piece. And then we can just tie a knot here to hold everything together. And then we can just weave in the end of our yarn here and trim off the rest of the tail. So then the only other thing that we need to do is to attach the daisy to our keychain hardware, and then we're totally done. So my keychain is actually kind of a carabiner style, so I can actually just slip this right on like that, but otherwise you would just open up your keyring like you would to put on a key and just slip the loop from the leaf onto that. And that's our finished keychain. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give the video a like and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. If you have any ideas for future projects, please leave me a comment down below letting me know what you would like to see. I have lots of other fun, beginner-friendly crochet projects on the channel, so do be sure to check those out. But that's all I have for you today. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you again soon. Bye.